have an age difference. We have life differences.
This is how you should live your life.
I got the faith. Because to get the faith...
Got it. Well, let's jump into this.
This is the Old School, New School podcast.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1...
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Old School, New School podcast. I am Will Charles Egan, and as always,
Chris Meekins.
We are so glad that you are here, and if you enjoy the content that we make here on our fabulous podcast, please hit the subscribe button. It is appearing just over Chris's head. It says, please subscribe. We're closing in on 100 subscribers. We're going to have 100 subscribers soon. Yes. I don't know if that translates to views, but... we'll have 100 people that hit the subscribe button, and we appreciate it every single time.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So, how was your week?
Good. We
Nice.
Helped a hurricane victim.
Nice.
They lost their place, and so they needed a place, and so we helped them move into my ex-father. Well, not my ex-father. He's still my father-in-law.
Still your father-in-law.
Where he used to live at.
Yeah.
It's been sitting there empty, and so we'd spent a week cleaning it out.
Yeah.
30 years of her parents.
Old people stuff.
Yeah, old people stuff.
Yeah.
We tried to give it away, but they're like, it's early American.
I saw some of it on it's literally like early American.
It's early American.
It's ancient technology.
And, older people, they just need to, whatever.
Yeah.
So spent 4 days mass cleaning, and so we were able to give them the keys. We don't know how long they're going to stay.
Yeah.
But some of these people are finding out their insurance, their flood insurance only covers so much. I mean, it's really heartbreaking.
Yes.
To know that they inherited the place, and so it's not like they got a lot of money.
Right.
But there's nothing
there.
cheap.
Right.
A block and a half from Siesta Key Beach,
That's
number
true.
one beach in the world.
Yeah.
There's just nothing cheap there.
Yeah.
And so they'll probably end up losing the house. And
It's
have to probably sell the property for
nothing.
No, they'll get a lot of money.
Oh, for real? Well, that's good. The lot itself will be worth something, which
the house
is nice.
they'll have to tear down. It was built in 1945. So,
oh, yeah. And then some giant mega corporation will steal it and then build a house on it. And
or buy the block.
Right, which they'd be doing that.
Yeah. So that's part of what's been going on in this. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, we got work again. Power's back on. It's just, for me, it was very quick turnaround, thank God. I mean, like the last 2 hurricanes, we didn't have power for like a week, which sucked. But this one, I had it back at my place within like 2 days, which was really nice. Like, we didn't have any transformers or power lines down or anything. It was just like, from the power station, they just turned our lights back on. It was like, oh, that was easy. But Dad's place was like, the transformer got wrecked by a tree and they had to like go in his backyard.
He has actual lines. Telephone lines.
Yeah, we still do too. I mean, none of our stuff is buried.
Well,
yeah. So it's, we're old school.
It's really interesting when you come down here and you see these floods. Like in Ohio, it's different.
Yeah.
Here, when that storm comes, it comes and
it hits hard.
And there's all the furniture has to get out of the house, otherwise it starts mildew. The drywall's got to get cut out. So, but then here's the thing: the day after the storm, it was gorgeous. It was like 78 degrees.
Oh my God!
No humidity.
These past few days,
you're like,
so nice.
Okay, this is why we pay extra money. Okay, so once every 40 years, a hurricane hits.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we're a direct hit.
Well, that's direct hit, yeah, but it's like every year we get hit now with something. But yeah, direct hit, it hadn't been like that for a while.
It's the government.
It's the government's controlling the weather, of course.
Yeah,
of course they are.
They've got supersonic.
I've met people this past couple of weeks at like the gym and stuff who legitimately are like,
oh no,
yes, no. There's a government agency called HARP, and they use signals to stimulate clouds. It's called cloud seeding. I'm like,
yeah, it's
okay,
true. It's
all right.
true.
Yeah, it is really.
Yeah, I saw it on Facebook.
Right.
And
yes.
I did read it on the internet.
That's right.
And
Alex
Jones.
Yeah.
He said it was true. So
right.
Obviously I do not listen to it.
Me neither. But
I see his ads every once in a while and I'll listen for about 30 seconds.
He's
I'm
funny.
Like, I can't take it.
He's so high energy.
Oh my gosh.
He's nuts.
And it's not like he's young.
No, he can keep going.
So which brings me to like moments of solitude.
Mm-hmm.
How do I get there?
Yeah, for real. When you're inundated with all this garbage.
The world we live in. So our subject, obviously, is
Yes.
our next subject is solitude.
Right.
The spiritual discipline of solitude.
Solitude.
So let's start everybody off with
Mm-hmm.
what's your definition of solitude?
Being alone. I mean, what else, right? Being alone. I mean, obviously, Christian solitude is like being alone with the Lord, right? You know, it's like, well, what does that mean? Well, the discipline of solitude, you'll think of like a dude in a brown robe with a rope for a belt and a
Absolutely.
hood
Yeah.
for 24 hours reading chants out of a little book, and he's a monk, right? And you think of, well, that's just something that those weird Christians do.
Was Brother Lawrence, there's that famous book, was he a monk?
Yeah, Brother Lawrence. Yeah, he was a monk.
Well, I'm a brother.
Yeah.
Right on.
Brother Chris. Yeah, I don't think you're the
Brother
same.
Chris, bring it home.
I don't think you're the same kind of brother.
Oh, okay.
But Brother Lawrence legitimately was one of those, like, brown robe, wear a belt,
And he taught
rope.
And if you ever read, what's his book? The one that's really popular.
He has that one big book, and it's referenced in this, but I couldn't tell you for the life of me what it's called. I know the Bible, and that's the one book that I know.
Yeah, I know that one. Bible.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, that guy. But yeah, he talks a lot about in this actually it talks quite a bit about, there's a specific thing we'll get to later that I thought was a little odd, but yeah, there was this one, it was like, like they talk about Saint Francis of Assisi, or there's a couple of those names, Saint John of the Cross,
Right.
and you're like, oh, these are some big names. And so they say certain things that are like very hoity-toity. We prayed and fasted, and we didn't speak for 24 hours, and you think, like, how does that apply to me in my daily life?
Right.
Right.
So let's go back to, okay, so a lot of our listeners are new to this, and so they're like, okay, I can start at the bottom of the barrel and work their way up. So they start with
Sure.
us.
Yeah.
Anyway, so these monks and these priests, and were they like Christian men that would go into a cave and not talk? I mean, you went to school, you learned this stuff.
Yeah.
What were they?
Yeah. Well, the like medieval depiction of, like, really extreme monastic fasts and, praying and fasting, or there was this one thing, I've done it before at the Fully Alive retreat that I talk about, where we did a monastic fast, which is you're not eating and you're not speaking for a whole, I mean, it wasn't a whole day that we did it, but a half day from the morning that we woke up till about 2:00 in the afternoon. We didn't say a word, and we would wander.
Could you talk to yourself?
I mean, you could think, but no opening your mouth and speaking.
Wow.
Nothing. Yeah, and it was just, you are in the woods, wandering around this, property. It was really pretty, actually, and I found this one place. It was like a little cove. There was pine trees. It was really awesome. I sat in there and I just did some journaling, but the whole time it was, go out, kind of separate yourself from other people, and just inquire of the Lord and see what he says to you. And it was just a time of fasting, like we've talked about before, and solitude, and this was an extreme example. And obviously it's like in your daily work life, you can't show up to work and be like you're going to show up to your office job where you talk on the phone for 8 hours a day and be like, sorry, I'm taking a monastic fast. Yeah. I can't speak for a day. Right. People are going to be like, but you're fired.
Yeah. It's like,
right?
Yeah, we'll do that on your own time.
Yeah.
So these monks, were they Christian people, or were they just like spiritual people?
They were Christian people. They were of the cloth. They were church, clergy, as they were called. I mean, obviously the Christianity that they followed, a lot of them were Catholic. It's a little bit different from what we follow. I don't know what denomination you consider yourself. I'm just a Christian.
Yeah,
I'm non-denominational.
I'm a Jesus follower.
I just like Jesus. That's right. Yeah. So yeah,
he's worked out well for me.
He certainly has for me too. Yeah. So these monks, yeah, they're Christians. I mean, a different denomination from what we teach, but I think there's valuable lessons in all the different denominations that they teach us, and they certainly do the whole praying, fasting, and solitude and thing, I think, very well.
So back then, I mentioned it in my men's breakfast this morning. We think that we live in a world, this country, that we're poor, and the reality is we're rich. Everyone's in this country is rich. the fact that you don't have to work from sunrise to sunset.
Yeah.
Your wife doesn't have to, or your spouse or whoever your partner is, doesn't have to work from sunset to sundown.
Yeah.
And your kids don't have to go get a job.
Mm-hmm.
Those are poor people.
Right. Yes.
And I have like 4 hours before I have to go to the car wash and put in an hour.
Yeah.
And then I'm off the rest of the day.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm far from poor.
Yes.
I have income. I have things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be to work until like 8 o'clock, right?
9 or like 11 on some days. Yeah.
But you work an 8 hour and then you have the rest of the time.
Yeah.
So you make enough money that you don't have to fill every minute with things.
Right.
So back then, most people had to work from sunrise to sunset.
That's a very good point.
And they really didn't have people to think. They really, it was a simple world back then.
Mm-hmm.
You plant the seeds in the
In
whenever
the dirt.
whenever they in the
I don't know
spring.
when. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But we're isn't
Yeah.
it sad?
Yeah, I don't
If
even know.
if I had to live on my own,
I'd die.
I'm screwed.
A
screwed.
weekend I'd die.
I'd be working from sunset to sundown and never have anything.
Never have anything to pay for it. Yeah.
So anyway, so you had this group of people that were actually just committed to spiritual things, to understand the spiritual world, right?
That's a very good point to make, is that majority of the people during the time of St. John of the Cross or St. Francis of Assisi is like, they are working nonstop just to survive.
Yeah.
Right. But there are some people crazy enough to completely forego that and live with a bunch of other monks or priests and to do nothing but study God's word every single day
And pray that God would provide for them.
Absolutely. When they
That's
weren't,
that's insane.
that is insane, actually. And now I can kind of understand why people thought like, oh, those monks are insane, because they're not contributing, they're not doing any work. They ask
just
for our
thinking.
tithes. Yeah, they're just thinking all day, and it's like, that's a good point. But what they talk about is in this discipline of solitude. And again, it does seem like one of those things where, who has the time or the wherewithal to spend a day in silence, right?
Does that mean no radio, no TV,
nothing?
no Game Boy?
No. Well, see, that's like 3 generations ago. Now it's PS5.
Okay, there's
PS5,
no PS5.
no PC, no nothing, right? And the thought process, right, the hustle mentality is to be working all the time. And it's like, how do you even have a moment to just be silent? That's such a waste of time, right? Yeah. How do I even fit this into my busy schedule?
I'm not being very productive.
Right, I'm just sitting here.
Yeah.
That's such a lame... Yeah, thinking. Ugh, what a waste of time. What a useless
Before
pursuit,
I forget
right?
it, my wife has this one saying she read someplace, thoughts take time.
Yeah, thoughts take time.
And we go, well, let me just think about that, and then I go listen to the radio.
Yep.
We really need to take some time for some thinking. So, so sorry.
No, that's good. This morning, I intentionally didn't go on my phone at all, and I didn't even read anything. I just ate breakfast.
Okay.
What a novel idea, right? That's like how we used to do it.
Yeah. And what did you have Raisin Brans?
Raisin Bran? What am I, 50? No. I had chicken soup.
For breakfast?
For breakfast.
Oh, my gosh.
I eat weird
Single
breakfast.
guy over here.
Very much so. I eat like a bachelor. I have one big vat of stew, and I just eat that all day for every single meal.
Until it's gone.
Until it's gone, then I make it again. That's it. Simple.
That's like going to Chipotle.
Exactly. I had that yesterday. Yeah. But
anyway,
it was a silent morning. I didn't do anything. I just kind of sat there and ate my food, and I was thinking. I was just thinking, right? And the past couple of days, and this is something I wanted to touch on, is the dark night of the soul.
Oh boy.
And some of you guys are going, what is this, a Batman movie? It's like, just hear me out. We were talking before the podcast, and Joyce was telling us about, spiritual attacks, right? And things that are, sometimes you get either sick or anxious or worried or just really depressed, and you have no idea why.
You're like, what the heck's
Has that ever
going
happened
on
to you
here?
before?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you try to, and me, I try to rationalize everything. I think, okay, well, was it this? What's different? Did I eat anything different? Did
There's
I
got to
take
be
a
a problem
supplement?
here.
I
There's
try to
gotta be a
find
core.
the solution.
Yeah.
I try to point it out, and then once I figure it out, then all the stress goes away because, like, oh, I figured it out. I have the answer. I can grip onto that. Even if it's wrong, I can lie to myself and say, "Oh, that's the answer." Now I don't have to think about that anymore, and I can just hold on to that
I
lie.
believe my own press quite a bit. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And the past couple of days, I've been experiencing, I guess, what you could call a spiritual attack. And it was, I think I found the root cause of it, but it was so strange because out of the blue, I start getting this like really acute anxiety and like dizziness, not palpitations, but my heart was racing and I was just nauseous and dizzy. And I'm like, what is happening to my body right now? And I'm trying to go to the gym and work out, and my body is like freaking out.
Saying, this isn't the answer.
This is not what you need to be doing, especially not legs right now. I almost threw up because I'm like leg pressing 600 pounds, and my body's like, you're going to vomit if you do another rep. And I'm like, I want to keep going though. And so I had to like go home and go to bed early because I was just feeling disgusting. I couldn't even go out with my friends. And then the next day I'm like trying to recuperate. I'm like, okay, I think I'm okay. And then it hits me again. And I'm getting like this crazy anxiety, like going anywhere outside of like the house or what's normal. And this is very unusual for me. Like, I'm a very charismatic guy. I love meeting new people, right, strangers. But for some reason, every single time I'd go out of the house, I'd freak out. And I'm trying to think of what this is. I think I know what the issue was, but honest to God, it took a lot of sitting in it and prayer. And I know this isn't what we're talking about, but talking with somebody else about it, because this is all about, solitude. But I was having these thoughts the whole time while I was experiencing this of like, you can't just ignore it and like try and suppress it. Because I would try and like distract myself and say, well, just think about the next set. It's chest day. You love doing chest. You should just think about your bench press. That'll be fine.
Keep pushing forward.
Exactly. Keep muscling through it.
Muscle through it.
Right, yeah.
God forbid you stop
and think about it.
Wait
and dwell.
Ask God if he would be willing to speak to you about this very thing.
I'm trying to white knuckle it on my own,
yeah,
right? And it's not exactly working. And so what I had to do, I had to allow myself to stop and sit in the uncomfortable and become comfortable in the uncomfortable. I had to just do nothing but dwell on it, right? Because it was like exposure therapy, right? The only way you're going to get through this thing that you're afraid of is to experience the thing you're afraid of. And you got to continually sit in it until you get over it, right? But I had to pray and ask God, reveal to me what is happening, what is the source of this, take this from me, whatever, Lord. And I'm literally in the middle of the gym, sitting on the bench, staring at myself in the mirror. My heart is racing. I'm freaking out. And I'm like, what is happening? What's going on? And I had to just experience it. And mind you, there's people everywhere.
Right.
There's all these noises. There's music playing.
Right.
I had to find a little still moment in the midst of the chaos with myself. So there's your answer. How do I find solitude in the middle of my busy life? You can make a moment in the middle of your chaos. I mean, you got to be good at it. But if you focus in, if you just, and just focus in on yourself, think of, breathing, just think of your thoughts. What is the Lord saying to you in the midst of the chaos? It can just take 5 minutes out of your day. You can have a little moment of solitude with the Lord in the midst of your spiritual attack or whatever it is. Maybe the Lord's trying to show you something through the spiritual attack. And then, boom. I mean, maybe your problem isn't solved, but now you have experience.
But it takes a moment or a day.
Or a day.
Or a month to be quiet.
Yeah.
And say, okay, I need to, I don't know if tune into God or tune into what's going on, because I believe the answer is always there. We know, our bodies know what's going on. When you're thirsty, your body knows it needs water.
Yeah. Not coffee.
So why would your brain, okay, I'm making this up as we go.
Okay.
Why would your brain not know that something needs to happen in here? It's part of my body. It's got thoughts.
Yeah.
Oh, no, your brain doesn't work like that.
Right.
It's not like thirst.
Right.
Maybe it is.
There's something I learned in psychology. It's called a psychosomatic response. You're probably thinking, what is that?
What is that? Please,
psycho.
do tell.
Psychosomatic means that your thoughts are experiencing an emotion to such an extreme degree that it starts to affect your physical body.
Okay.
So you could be so anxious that you can't breathe, right? Or you could be so depressed that you have no feeling in your fingertips.
Okay.
Some people get this. And a lot of the times, much like thirst, if you're thirsty, your body's going to tell you need water.
Right.
There really truly is nothing like coming in from a long, hard day of yard work and then just chugging some ice cold water. You know that feeling? That's just the best feeling in the world.
You're like, man, this is good.
That's how it is with the Lord, right? If your body sometimes will scream for you to the point where it affects your physical body and you're in the middle of a workout going, what's happening to me? And your body will say, you need the Lord. Take a moment and slow down and focus in on what he has to say to you.
Right. So we live in a new world, that is teaching that the mind is a lot more powerful than we ever thought. And they still know nothing about the mind.
Oh, no, yeah.
Why, again, I'm going back to it. Why would I not think that my mind is begging for some kind of relief?
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that I know that gives relief is a moment of silence, of saying, I'm going to push into the God of the universe, that I think that's the only answer there is, because I have no other answer, because I can call Will all day long and he does not have the right answer.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I could call call Brother Lawrence.
Brother Lawrence, right.
Okay. From the 17, 60, whatever.
Way back. But yeah.
Way back. And he doesn't have the answer for what's actually going into my mind.
Yeah.
And so if we believe that we're spiritual beings, which I believe, there's an element that we have pushed out, and part of what we do is push out. We say, oh yeah, I'm going to have total silence. I'm just going to play worship music. No, I'm listening to Carrie Joby.
Carrie Job.
It's not.
It's Job.
Carrie Job.
Yeah.
Does she need a job?
That was funny.
Or Rick Springsteen.
Yeah. That's your generation, isn't it? Yeah, it's not. I don't know who that is.
But anyway, he's giving me information.
That's another person.
Solitude is like, oh no.
Nothing. Nothing but the Lord.
And so it's scary. Mm-hmm. I think we live in a world.
It is scary.
That goes are scary. And so he was reading this one part about the book. What was it called again?
It's called The Dark Night of the Soul.
Yeah. So he's talking about going so deep into this solitude that it's almost like fear. I mean, we're talking days and days and not weeks of total solitude.
Yeah.
When we were talking about that, I was thinking about someone being in solitary conflict.
Yes, exactly.
That's why they do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's scary. Actually, I think that's what hell's going to be like. It's void of any light, anything good, anything positive, anything, any people.
No connection.
No connection. Everything void of God. So God is the sun and the moon and the stars. God is
people and breath in your lungs and water.
So I don't want nothing to do with God. Okay, God's going to take all his stuff, and you live in void. And that's the torturous part.
Yes. Some people don't even realize that everything is provided by the Lord, even the air, even the breath in your lungs. Right. And to just say, it's like you don't even know you're participating in the Lord.
Even the algae that's in your pool that the pool man doesn't get cleaned out. Got it.
Even the little things like that. But there's things you're not even aware of that the Lord is deeply involved in. And so with this, solitary confinement, again, these monks they're going hard in the paint, as we say. For days on end, they're doing this fasting and this prayer and this solitude. And so this is what it writes about spending an extended period of time with just yourself in complete silence. And so it says, how is this dark night expressed in daily life? When solitude is seriously pursued, there is usually a flush of initial success and then an inevitable letdown. Okay. And with it, a desire to abandon the pursuit altogether. Feelings leave, and there is the sense that we are not getting through to God. Now, this is the crazy part. St. John of the Cross, so a monk, describes it this way. The darkness of the soul mentioned here puts the sensory and spiritual appetites to sleep. Like, okay, what does that mean? It binds the imagination and impedes it from doing any good discursive work.
And why would I want to do this?
Exactly. It makes memory cease. The intellect becomes dark and unable to understand anything, and hence it causes the will also to become arid and constrained, and all faculties empty and useless. And overall, this hangs a dense and burdensome cloud which afflicts the soul and keeps it withdrawn from God. Why would I want to do that to myself? Right? And I'm reading this now, and I'm thinking, holy cow, this is exactly like what I was feeling yesterday. Right?
Okay.
And maybe the Lord was showing me, this is what separation from me feels like.
Yeah.
It truly did feel like I was thinking about, as my body's freaking out, I'm thinking about talking to somebody. Like if
he's okay now, Mom.
I'm good, Mom.
I'm like, his mom's probably listening.
My mom is
going, oh,
freaking
God.
out. No,
I'm
yeah,
gonna have to send him some.
yeah. I'm gonna have to send him to the doctor's office.
Yes. Okay, go ahead.
But as my body is freaking out, I'm imagining what it would be like to go up to somebody and just strike up a conversation. Like, I don't even think I could do that right now. Or I see an ad on the TV for Outback Steakhouse. I'm like, if I ate anything, I feel like I'd throw up. Right? And this is this complete and absolute separation from God. It's this dark night of the soul. It's like, this is just abandoning all of your normal faculties. It's kind of like, have you ever done a cleanse before?
Yes.
Like a fast and then your body just like hates you for a week?
I ate this Philadelphia cheesesteak for lunch the other day, and I had a
You
cleansing.
had a cleanse experience. Exactly. Your body is, I mean, it is this rapid and some might say violent evacuation of all the negative in your body. I'm talking about the spiritual discipline. I don't know what you're talking about. And if you are hear me out.
I'm sorry.
in the spiritual discipline world, if you are participating in this dark night of the soul,
Yeah.
it's like having a withdrawal from something. Yeah. It's this very like jarring experience, and you're getting all the toxins out.
I'm getting the toxins out.
Right, and that's exactly, I think, what some of the solitude can be. It's like
it's saying, okay, God, I'm going to get rid of all this garbage.
Right.
And I need to tune into you. What is it? Okay, I'll repent to that. What is this? Okay, it's saying that I am so desperate, God, that I can't figure out my marriage, or I can't figure out this relationship I have with this person, or I can't figure out how to say no to this. There's a deeper issue, which then God kind of revealed to you what you think it might be.
Absolutely.
And so as you go, oh, okay, that's the whole thing where God will meet you. Sometimes it's a little harder than others.
It can be rough
because, again, we talk about when we talked with Jamie Norton and talk about your past. There's things that happened 40, 50 years ago that has had a deep impact in my life.
Oh, absolutely.
And
stays with you.
And they're out of your mind. Oh no, they're not out of your mind. They're just very deep
in the back.
And you're like, well, why do I act like that when this type of person comes walking? There's a certain type of person that comes in the room. Before God set me free from it, that would be in the store, that would be reacting in a way. I would have to actually leave the store.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And it was like, because it's something that happened when I was younger.
Yeah.
I didn't want anybody to think that I was with this person. I would literally leave the store. They're on another store.
Yeah.
Carrying on.
Right.
And I'd have to, and until I went deep enough to go, oh, that has to do with that person in that situation. Has nothing to do with here. But in your brain, or the devil pulls that crap up.
Unhealthy connection to it,
And so in solitude, and so let's go a little bit lighter. In solitude, what Jesus did, Jesus like, okay, I need some time of solitude. Didn't he do a couple day fast while he was around?
A couple days, maybe 40 days.
40 days. He went out and just said, I need to be tempted. all the way to the point where
Dark night of the soul. Jesus probably experienced that in the temptation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, and the devil's like, hey, I'll give you the whole world, man. I'll make you the prince of the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, my father promised
already.
I got the whole thing.
Right.
I'll give you this. I'll make this food in the rocks. I don't need bread. And I don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
But then, so Jesus had to spend time in solitude to get his mind right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
You can probably say that. Well, because it's like it's a spiritual cleanse. Is I think what we're discovering in this conversation is that the solitude focus. It's like I do these things every once in a while. I probably should do it again. It's called a sensory deprivation tank. And there's like this spa place you can go to. It's like, oh. Sounds
never
weird.
heard of this.
You've literally never heard of it?
No.
They're actually really cool. It's a tub full of Epsom salt. So it's more concentrated. You know how people float in the Dead Sea? Like you go in the Dead Sea and you swim in it and you float because of all the salt. It's like, But in these sensory deprivation tanks, there's so much salt in the water that you float. And the temperature is at a certain temperature that it's like the same as the outside of your skin. And it's completely dark and you've got earplugs in. And so there's nothing. There's no sensory input. And it's an hour and a half of floating with no sensation.
And you pay for this?
And you pay for this, yes. It sounds crazy. And this is something this is a more extreme version of it. But in this solitude, it's a sensory deprivation. You're removing yourself from the world to allow things from the inside to kind of bubble up, and you've got to sit in it, and it can be hard, is what we're learning. It can be very hard.
Yeah.
Jesus, in the midst of his 40-day solitude and fast, certainly had some temptations and things that were revealed to him, but you do this, and all of these negative spiritual toxins, per se, bubble up, and the Lord reveals them to you, and you got to give them to God, and that's how you can be set free from these things. So I think what we're finding out is the discipline of solitude is very important for your mental and spiritual health, because it reveals things that are very deep inside.
And then also Jesus went off to the side and just said, hey, I need some time alone. I need to get away from you people.
Also, solitude is just like, I need a break.
Yeah. So for our listeners, where can they start? What's some way they can start, you think?
Maybe 10 minutes a day at like the end of your day, after your work day, just kind of, your temptation is to kind of just go to your phone. Just like, let's unwind. Let your unwind start with just like 10 minutes of, just like we talked about meditation or something like that. Mm-hmm. Start with just 10 minutes of breathing. Just kind of sit there and think. Set a timer. Or what I like to do, they have like guided meditations on YouTube. I mean, you can literally just look up guided meditation on YouTube and there it is. It's super easy to do this. But yeah, just sit for a while, maybe pray, ask the Lord some things, but don't listen to worship music. Don't even it sounds sacrilegious. Don't listen to worship music. Don't bring your Bible. Just sit with you and God. See what happens. Just try it.
I'm read a couple times this book called The Miracle Morning. You ever hear that?
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like an hour. It's like, figure it out. Get up an hour early if you have to.
Mm-hmm.
But it was broken up into 6 segments.
Yeah.
And one of the segments is just 10 minutes of just solitude. Just just nothing. Try to go in. It is difficult.
It's rough.
It's easier for me to get up and say, okay, I put on my ear, I read my Bible, I listen to the Bible and read it for 10 minutes or 12 minutes, whatever it takes. And then maybe I'll write a thing because I'm doing something.
You got to be constantly doing something.
But then I'll get to, okay, I need some solitude time. And it's like,
uh-oh.
I wonder if that coffee's done yet.
There it is.
And it's so difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Now, which I would recommend, The Miracle Morning, reading that book, just because what it does is say, if you do these disciplines, these 6 things, I think it's meditation, it's self-improvement, it's something, and you visualize what you're going to do that day, and and stuff like that. But it's like, but part of it is meditation, and it's not a Christian book.
It's not.
It's not.
Oh, okay.
They don't mention anything about God.
I was going to say, maybe read the Bible would be in there.
No, meditation. And now, if you want to read the Bible, that would be your...
Definitely help.
There's another part where read something. Okay, I'm going to read my Bible.
Put the
I'm
Bible
a
in there.
spiritual guy. There's people that aren't spiritual people. But the truth of the matter is the disciplines of getting my mind right.
Yeah.
So anyway, but it's difficult to go 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'll have a cup of coffee and I'll just like try to sit there and just empty out everything. And it's scary
It is. It's scary.
because you start thinking about, well, I probably shouldn't have said that.
Mm-hmm.
I probably shouldn't have said that.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden I'm like, well, maybe I should pray about that. Maybe
Great
I
idea.
should repent when I'm praying.
Oh,
Maybe I
great
should
idea.
repent about that.
Yeah.
And so things come up. It takes practice.
It does. Yeah.
It takes discipline
Hey.
to do these things, but it's opening up a window that science, your school books, your education cannot explain.
Yeah.
It's opening up a window of spirituality, saying, God, I believe you that you're going to meet me in this
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
in a way that nobody else can.
Right.
But that's scary.
It is.
Because what if he tells you to, go to Istanbul?
Yeah. What if I'm called to
What?
go to Turkey?
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Well, look what time it is. I guess I got to go.
Jonah over here running from God, right? It might be something crazy that you don't want to hear, but if it's the Lord's will, it's good for you. And it's
Many a times during my meditation and just that time, I've got a word that's what we Christians say, a word, or I feel like God's told me to say something to somebody.
yeah.
And it's worked out well.
Yeah.
It's unexplainable, and that's the spiritual world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so to not be afraid of it, unless you got a lot of bad stuff going on,
Right.
unless you're a crack dealer, and you're like,
Then things will bubble up very quickly in your solitude.
yeah. I mean, if you're living a life of sin, you don't want to, right?
Right. You want to be constantly distracted.
Yeah.
You want the next high always, right?
And that's what the devil does. That's why he doesn't want you in solitude.
Exactly. He
'Cause
wants you
you're
distracted.
Like, oh shit, this is the wrong thing to do.
Exactly. It's like, oh shoot, I shouldn't be doing this.
My life is a mess.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was exactly what had been happening to me. Is it's like, it's uncomfortable, but you have to sit in it, and you have to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. You got to know that ultimately, in the end, though it stings now, it is for your benefit in the long term, right? Yeah. So start the disciplines. I mean, we have this whole series. I'll put all these episodes in a playlist, and so you could watch through all of these spiritual disciplines, and then,
and it would be better if you actually bought the book.
Right. Read this. How about this? Read the book, and then after each chapter, watch our dumb little podcast.
Yeah.
There you go. As a little walk along.
And our goal here is to let you know that we have certainly not mastered this.
Will we ever?
We've realistically just played with it a little bit.
Right, exactly.
You've got people that really, you want to know, like when you watch Pastor Randy, you're like, now, how does he come up with that stuff? Is there like is there a secret website that they pull those messages up?
Yep.
No, they spend time alone with God.
Yeah.
And they go, okay, God, and Randy will talk about it and Jonathan will talk about it all the time. They'll say, I spent time with God, and he gave me this vision Randy always, he's like, God told me to talk to you this morning. He told me this. And it's like, well, how did he tell you that? And
right.
It's like, because he spent time in solitude.
Exactly.
And said, God, is there anything you want me to say? And that's really the question. God, is there something you want to tell me? And then shut your mouth.
And then listen. Yeah. That's very good. That's the whole point of solitude. I think we could wrap up with that is the whole point of solitude is to listen for God, right? Because he will reveal to you things.
Go ahead. I didn't hear that. What were you saying? No,
I said.
I wasn't listening.
Exactly. Turn off the TV. Turn off the radio.
Turn off what I'm going to do in the next 45 minutes.
Right. Exactly. Put your phone down. We've all got to invest in a deeper spiritual life, and so
don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. That's
God's
right.
good.
Amen.
Peace.